Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to cover the topics electric charges and field and electric potential and capacitance. In this lesson, we are going to study like how the electric charges will behave and how the application of electric field and electric charges are working in the case of physics world. So here, first we are going to study the concepts on electric charges and electric fields. Then we will move to the electric potential and the capacitance lesson. It's known that in the case of electric charge and field, the main concepts are Coulomb's law, electric field, calculating the electric field in a different cases, and the application of electric charges and fields. Because if you cover these topics in your grade 12 CBSE, it will be very helpful when you are going for a NEET exam as well. So let us start with the introduction of electric charges. It's known that when we are studying about the electric charges or else when we are studying about the charges at the rest position, it will come under the electrostatics. So here electric charges and field will also come under the electrostatic, which will deals with the electric charge behavior when it was in the rest position. So here I'm just going to give the brief about the electric charges and the fields. So it's known that electric charge is a fundamental property of a matter that lead to the electric force and field. And the electric charge is a scalar physical quantity, which means it will have the only magnitude, it will not have a direction. So here the charge is a quantity with a which was associated with a matter due to which it produces and experiences a electrical and magnetic effects. So the excess or deficiency of an electron in a body give us the concept of a charge, because it's known that whenever the electron is moving from one to another one, or else when the material is gaining the electron, it will be called as a positive and negative ions. In a similar way, here we will talk about the positive and negative charges. It's known that there are two types of charge. One is a So there are two types of charge. One is a positive charge, another one is a negative charge, and it's known that the positive charge will be called as a proton and the negative one will be called as an electron. And apart from that, it's known there is a law for the electrification which will say the like charges repel one another, which means the same charges, if there is a positive or negative charges are together, it will get repel. Similarly, unlike charges pull towards one another. So this rule will be called as the rule of electrification. So this is all about the electric charge. So now we are going to study what are the properties of an electric charge. Electric charge is having three main characteristics. First one is the additive nature. Additive nature is nothing but the net charge will be the sum of the individual charge. That's called as a charge is additive in nature. And the second property is the charge is quantized, which means the total charge of the which means the total charge within a system will be calculated using a formula Q is equal Ne. So here N is representing the number of charges inside the body or system where we are calculating the total charge. And E is representing the value of charge of an electron, which is always equal to 1.6 times 10 to the power negative 19 coulomb. It's known one, right? The third property is nothing but the charge is conserved. So here when we are saying the charge is conserved before the contact and the after the contact, the value of the total charge in a system remains constant. So these three properties are a very important property of an electric charge. The next one is about the Coulomb force. Coulomb force is Coulomb force is a type of force, or else we can say the Coulomb's law will explain the attractive and the repulsive force between the charges. So here Coulomb's law states that the force between two charges is directly proportional to the product of a magnitude of a charge and inversely proportional to the square of a distance between them. And here we can write F is directly proportional to Q1, Q2, and F is inversely proportional F is inversely proportional to r power 2, or else we can say the square of a distance between them. So here when we are writing this in the equation form, it will be written as F is equal k times q1 q2 divided by r square. So here k is a proportionality constant which will be called as Coulomb's constant, and it's known that the Coulomb's constant k is always equal to 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. Here epsilon naught is representing the value of permittivity of a free space, which is always equal to 8.9 times 10 to the power 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. And Q1, Q2 is the corresponding charge where we are calculating the Coulomb force, and R is the distance between them. So in a case of electric charge and field lesson, this is a very important concept you have to know when you're going for an exam. So the next one is about the electric field. It's known that electric field is nothing but a region around the charged object where other object, or else we can say where other charged object experience a force. And it's known that the strength and the direction of an electric field depend on the charge creating it and the distance from a charge. Usually, the electric field will be represented using a electric field line, which is an imaginary line. We know that, right? So, electric field lines represent the direction of an electric field, and it's known that, and we studied just now, like there are two type of charge, positive and negative, right? And in the case of positive, if we want to represent the electric field line, and in the natural way, like usually we will represent the electric field lines for the positive charge which will be move outward, or else we can say in the case of negative charge the electric field lines will be inward. In the case of positive charge it will be outward. And by using an electric field line we can say the strength of an electric field. If the density of an electric field line is high, we can say the strength of an electric field at that part or at that area is high. So if the density of a line is very less in a particular area, so here when we are checking a diagram, in the like outer area the lines are not together, right? So we can say the electric field strength will be less compared to the near area of a charge, because here when we are checking the electric field lines are high and it is very near, so we can say it is dense in that area. So we can say that electric field strength is also high in that area. So this is all about the electric field lines. So now the electric field intensity. So the electric field intensity usually represent the number of field line passing through the uniform or force acting per unit charge placed in a field. So here usually we will call the electric field intensity by using a formula F divided by Q. So here F is representing the Coulomb's force, and it's known that F here, the Coulomb force will be equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R square. Here whenever we are calculating the electric field intensity, we will calculate the electric field intensity of one charge with respect to another one. That's why we are dividing by Q here, and the equation which will be used to represent the electric field intensity is E is equal 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q divided by R square. So this is a very important equation you have to know. The next one is the electric flux. Electric flux is defined as the total number of electric field lines crossing an area in a particular unit of time. So usually the electric flux will be used to represent how many numbers of electric field lines in a particular area, and it will be calculated using a formula E dot del S times cos theta. So del S is representing the area and theta is representing the angle between the surface and the electric field where we are applying. And the unit of electric flux is Newton Coulomb power minus 1 and meter square. So this is all about the electric flux and electric field intensity. Dipole moment will be there, or else we can say the dipole moment is a kind of a arrangement. So when we are like separating the two similar charges with the opposite sign at a particular two times of a distance. So 2a is a difference. So here we can say a pair of equal and opposite point charges q and negative q separated apart by the distance of 2a form an electric dipole, and the dipole moment will be calculated using a formula q times 2a. So q is representing the magnitude and a is representing the distance between them. And usually the dipole moment will be measured by the unit of Coulomb meter. So this is all about the dipole moment. Now we have to know what will happen to the value of electric field when the point lies on the axis of a dipole. I hope you people studied in your class that how we have to derive the expression of an electric field when the point lies on the axis of a dipole. So it's known that, so this is the equation this is the equation we will use for the electric field at a point P when it was on the axis of a dipole. Similarly, I hope you people derive the equation for the electric field when the point lies on an equatorial plane of a dipole. So this is the expression for the electric field in an equatorial plane, right? So this is all about the electric charge and field. Now we are moving for electric potential and capacitance, which is your second lesson in your grade 12 VBSA exam. So here I just mentioned the main topics in that lesson and which will be very useful for you when you are going for your NEET exam as well. So the first topic is the electric potential. The second one is the electric potential difference. Third one is the equipotential surface. Fourth one is the electrostatic potential energy. And fifth one is the Gauss theorem and its application. So Gauss theorem and its application is a very important topic in case of NEET and the case of in case of grade 12 board exams as well. So the last topic is a capacitor. So let us start with the electric potential. So it's known that electric potential is a physical quantity which determines the flow of charge from one body to another. And this physical quantity determine the degree of electrification. I said already, electrification is nothing but how the body is becoming charged. So usually I hope you people studied in your class how to electrify, like by rubbing and like like making the contact of two object which is having, one is having charge. So electrification can be done in three ways. The first one is by rubbing. The second one is like when you bring the charged object near to the uncharged one, automatically the object which is not having a charge will get electrified. And the last one is about the earthing. So inductance, self inductance, right? So everything will come under the electrification. And it's very important that you have to know the definition. So electric potential at a point in an electric field can be defined as the work done in moving a unit positive charge from infinity to that point against the electrostatic force, irrespective of a path followed. So keep it in a mind how we are like defining the work done and everything. So in the case of electric electrostatic, if you are talking about work done, it is nothing but the electric potential. And the formula we will use for the electric potential is V is equal W divided by Q. So V is representing the electric potential and W here is representing the work done. So here work done is nothing but how much work was done to move a unit positive charge from infinity to that particular point. And here we are doing the work against the electrostatic force as well, right? And here keep it in a mind, electric potential will not depend on the path, but in the case of electric field line it is very important which path it is following, right? And here the SI unit of electric potential I just mentioned, which is, you people know, the joule per coulomb is the unit of electric potential, or else we can say Newton meter per coulomb as well. So the second one is the electric potential difference. Electric potential difference is nothing but how we are calculating a difference between 2 points electric potential, or else here we can say the electric potential difference between any 2 points in an electric field is defined as the work done in moving a unit positive charge from one point to the other against the electrostatic force, irrespective of path followed. In the case of electric potential in the case of electric potential also we set the same definition, but they, in that case we just said like the total work done to bring that charge, but here we will consider like one more charge. So here we will compare and we will move one place to next place. So here we are comparing, so we are calculating the potential difference. And here we have to know some of the properties of electric potential difference which will be useful when you are solving the question. Those are the electric potential and potential difference. Both are scalar quantities which will not have the direction. So I said the electric potential will not depend on the path followed, right? But in the case of electric field lines, I said like if it is a positive charge, the electric field lines will move outward. In the case of negative charge, the electric field lines move inward. So electric field line, electric field, everything is a uh, vector quantity. Here the electric potential, potential difference are the scalar quantities. And the second property here is electric potential at infinity is zero. And the third one is the electric potential near an isolated positive charge is positive, and that near an isolated negative charge is negative, because it's known that the charge will be greater than zero and less than zero because of that. And the SI unit of a electric potential and electric potential difference both is it's known that the electric potential difference and electric potential both will be measured with a unit of volt, which is nothing but the SI unit as well, right? So now we are going to see how we are calculating the electric potential for a different cases. So here, when we are calculating the electric potential due to a single point charge. So if we are going to take a single charge and if we are calculating the electric potential, it's known that the formula for calculating the electric potential is Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R. In the case of group of point charge, which will be equal to the net electrostatic potential at a point in the electric field due to a group of charges in the algebraic sum of their individual potentials at that point. So here we can say simply the total potential value will be equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3 plus V4 etc. Because of each charges we will have the electric potential, and the total potential will be calculated by adding the individual potential. And the formula here we can say 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught summation of Qi divided by Ri. Because here we know that the only variable quantities are charge and the distance between a charge and that particular point. So the next one is the electric potential due to an electric dipole. So it's known that at a point of an axial line, the value of electric potential can be calculated using a formula 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught P divided by x power 2 minus L power 2. So here x power 2 is representing the distance between a point. So here L is representing the distance between a charge and X is representing for a distance where we are calculating the electric potential. Similarly, at a point on an equatorial line, we will calculate the electric potential using a similar formula. But here, the value of net electrostatic potential will be equal to zero in case of equatorial line, because the net electrostatic potential at a point in the electric field due to an electric dipole at any point on an equatorial line is zero, right? So the next one is about the equipotential surface. It's known that in the case of equipotential surface, the electric potential will remain same, or else we can say a surface at every point of which the potential due to charge distribution is same is called equipotential surface. So usually we will have two types. First one is a spherical equipotential surface. The next one will be the plane equipotential surface. So for a uniform electric field, we will go with the example of plane equipotential surface. And in the case of an isolated charge, we will go with a spherical equipotential surface. Or else we can say whenever you are talking about the uniform electric field, or else when you are calculating the equipotential surface, or else when you are calculating the electric field for a plane which is perpendicular to each other, we can say the equipotential surface will be parallel, and in the case of isolated charges it will be spherical in a shape. So now we are going to study the properties of equipotential surface. The first one is about the work done. So it's known that in the case of equipotential surface, there will be no work done, because no work is done in moving a test charge from one point to another on an equipotential surface. And the second one is about the electric field. In the case of electric field, we can say the electric field is always perpendicular to the element of the equipotential surface with respect to the distance or else length. And the third main property is the equipotential surface indicate region of strong or weak electric field. And the fourth one is two equipotential surface cannot intersect. It's like electric field lines only. It's known that electric field lines never intersect each other. Similarly, the equipotential surface will not intersect. So these are the main properties of equipotential lines. Now, the electrostatic potential energy. It's known that the work done in a moving a charge from an infinity to point in a field, again the electrostatic force is called as the electrostatic potential energy. And the electrostatic potential energy can be calculated using a formula Q times V, and Q here is representing the value of charge, V is representing the potential. W here is representing the work done, and it's known that work done is always equal to the transfer of energy. Here it's about the electrostatic potential energy. So let us see what is happening on the electrostatic potential energy when there is two charges on a system. So here when there is two charges, the value of electrostatic potential energy can be calculated using a formula U is equal 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R. Similarly, the electric potential energy at three charge system can be calculated using a formula U is equal 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 divided by R1 R2, which is nothing but the distance between a charge 1 to 2. Similarly, Q1, Q3, divided by R31. R31 is nothing but the distance between a charge 3 to 1. And Q2, Q3, which is nothing but the product of charge 2 and 3, and R32 is representing the corresponding distance. So the next one is about the electrostatic potential of n charge system. So here, if there is n charges on the system, we can say like 1 over 2 times 4 pi epsilon naught summation of q1 q2 divided by rj minus r1, or else we can say the distance between corresponding charges. So this is all about the electrostatic potential energy. Now, the important topic, Gauss theorem. So Gauss theorem is representing about the electric flux in the case of electric field. So the surface integral of an electric field intensity over any closed hypothetical surface in a free space will be equal to 1 over epsilon naught times the net charge enclosed within a surface. And it's known that the Gauss theorem will be represented using a formula: electric flux pi is equal E times ds in terms of surface integral. So here we can write the formula for the electric flux as a simple q divided by epsilon naught. Q is a charge enclosed in the system. So the next one is about the application of Gauss theorem. So this is also very important topic. In the case of application of Gauss theorem, we know that we will study about the electric field intensity due to an infinite long straight charge wire. I hope I hope you people derived the expression for this case in your class. And it's known that when the and it's known that when there is a So let me show you the full diagram. So here, when we have the long straight wire, and if we are calculating the electric field intensity on that particular long wire by using a Gauss law, we can derive the electric field intensity is equal 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught 2 lambda divided by r. Right? I hope you people know how you can derive this. If you are not if you didn't know like how to derive, you can check our site and you can learn like how to derive these expressions very easily. So the next one is about the electric field intensity due to an infinite long thin plane sheet of a charge. And sorry. Sorry. So here it's known that the expression which is used for electric field intensity in this case is sigma divided by 2 epsilon naught. So if the plane sheet is thick, and it's known that the charge distribution will also available on both sides, that time we will use this expression, because that time we can write E is equal 2 times sigma divided by 2 epsilon naught, because sigma here is representing the charge distribution. So it will get cancelled. We will get this expression, right? The third one is about the electric field intensity due to a uniform charge spherical shell. So in the case of spherical shell, it's known that we will study about the point outside the shell, inside the shell, and on the surface of the shell. So here, in the case of outside of the shell, the electric field will be calculated using a formula: E is equal sigma r squared divided by epsilon naught r power 2. And the case of surface, or else if we are telling that when the charge is on the surface of the shell, the electric field intensity will be equal to sigma divided by epsilon naught. And if the charge is inside the shell, we can say the electric field intensity will be equal to 0. So now we are moving for the capacitance. So it's known that capacitance is nothing but how the charge is stored on a system. So in the case of capacitor, we will have two types. One is a parallel plate capacitor. The next one is a parallel plate capacitor with a dielectric slab. Before that, the capacitance can be calculated using a formula C is equal Q divided by V, whereas Q is representing the value of charge and V is representing the value of potential difference. So here the potential difference in case of spherical conductor, we will we can say the charge will be equal to, the value of potential will be equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R. So here, as I said already, the value of capacitance will be equal to Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught. So we can write when we are applying the value, it will be equal to C is equal 4 pi epsilon naught times R. So it's known that when we are having a parallel plate capacitor, the capacitance can be calculated using a formula A epsilon naught divided by T. In the case of dielectric, we will use this formula to calculate the answer, which is nothing but C is equal C naught divided by 1 minus T divided by D bracket 1 minus T divided by K. So K here is representing the dielectric constant. Now, when the capacitors are connected in a series, we know that the formula we will use here as 1 over C is equal 1 over C1 plus 1 over C2 plus 1 over C3. Similarly, if the capacitors are connected in a parallel combination, we will calculate the total capacitance as C1 plus C2 plus C3. And it's known that whenever the capacitors are connected in a series combination, the total capacitance of the circuit will be less compared to the individual, and in the case of parallel, it will be more, right? So now, we are like when we are studying about the capacitor, we have to study about the energy stored in the capacitor, because the main work of a capacitor is storing the energy, right? So here, when we are studying about the energy in a capacitor, the formula we will use to calculate the stored energy in a capacitor is 1 over 2 times Q square divided by C. So here we have only Q and C, right? If in our exam we are having only the values of capacitance and the potential difference, we can use this formula, half times CV square. If we have only the value of charge and potential difference, we can use this formula, right? The next one, we are going to study about the energy density. So energy density is nothing but how much energy was accommodated with a particular area, so which will be calculated using a formula 1 over 2 times epsilon naught times E square. It's known that E is representing the electric field intensity and E naught is representing the permittivity of a free space. So now we are going to solve some of the question. So I'm just giving 5 minutes for you people. You can ask me like if you have any doubts in this session. So I'm just opening my chat box for 5 minutes. You can ask your questions there. Then we will start solving the question related to this topic. Okay. So here in this question, we have to calculate the electric potential value. So it's given in the question, the electric dipole has a dipole moment of 16 times 10 to the power negative 9 coulomb meter. And it's given that the charges are displaced at zero point 0.6 meter from the dipole. And the angle value is given as 60 degree. So here we need an expression which we will use to calculate the electric potential. It's known that the electric potential at a point due to a dipole can be calculated using a formula V is equal 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times P times R cap divided by R square. So here P is representing the value of dipole moment, and the value of dipole moment is given as 16 times 10 to the power negative 9 coulomb meter in the question. Whereas R is representing the distance from the dipole to the point where the potential is calculated. So the value of R here is given as zero point 0.6 meter, and the angle here is given as theta is equal 60 degree. So here we are having the dipole with respect to some axis, right? So for a point on an axial line of the dipole, the potential formula can be simplified as V is equal 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times P cos theta divided by R square. Now we can apply all the values. So V will be equal to 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times the P value 16 times 10 to the power 9 10 to the power negative 9 times cos the value 60 here divided by zero point 0.6 power 2, and it's known that 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught, the coulomb's constant, will be equal to 9 times 10 to the power 9 as well. So here we have 16 times 10 to the power negative 9 times cos 60 divided by zero point 0.6 square. When we are simplifying this, we will get the answer of 200 volt. So the value of electric potential due to the dipole at a point of a distance zero point 0.6 meter from the center of a dipole is 200 volt. So the correct answer here is option D. So now we are going to solve the next question. So the next question here is about the parallel plate capacitor. So here it's given that a parallel plate capacitor has a capacity of C, and the distance of a separation between a plate is given as D. And the potential difference is also given in the question, which is represented as a V. So now we have to, so here the question is about what will be the value of force of attraction between the plates of parallel plate capacitor. So here it's known that the force of attraction between the plates of parallel plate capacitor can be calculated using a formula F is equal Q squared divided by 2 epsilon naught times A. So here Q is representing the charge, epsilon naught is representing the permittivity, A is representing the value of area of each plate. So here it's known that whenever there is a parallel plate capacitance, the capacitance value can be calculated using a formula epsilon naught A divided by T, right? So this is the general formula for the parallel plate capacitor. Now, in general, the value of capacitance can be calculated using a formula C is equal Q divided by V, right? From this, we can write the value of Q is equal C times V. Now we have a value of charge. We can apply this value in the force of attraction. So F will be equal to C times V whole power 2 divided by 2 epsilon naught times A, right? When we are writing this again, it will be equal to C square V square divided by 2 epsilon naught A, right? And here we have the expression for the epsilon A. So for the epsilon A from the parallel plate capacitor formula, we can write C times D, right? So here we can write C square times V square divided by 2 times CD times A. 2 times CD times only 2 times CD, right? So now, so here we can write 2 times C times D, right? For epsilon naught and A, we are just substituting the values here. So here when we are simplifying the values, we can write the value of force of attraction between a plates will be equal to CV squared divided by 2V. So this is the value of force of attraction. So based on that, we can say the correct answer for this question is option C here. So now we are moving for the next question. So here the question is about the electric flux. So here it's given that the surface integral of E dot ds is equal 0 over a surface. Now the question here is about which statement is regarding the given integral is correct. So here it's given that the surface integral of E dot ds is equal 0, which is representing the electric flux through the closed surface. So here E is representing the electric field, ds is representing the element of the surface, and the integral representing the total electric flux through the closed surface, right? So this equation is derived from the Gauss law. It's known that it's a known one, right? So it's no, which states that the net electric flux through the closed surface is proportional to the charge enclosed by the surface. And in the equation form, we can write E dot ds is equal Q enclosed divided by epsilon naught. So Q enclosed is nothing but the charge enclosed by the surface, and epsilon naught is representing the permittivity of a free surface. So if the flux is zero, we can say the net charge enclosed by the surface will be zero because the epsilon naught is a constant value. So based on that, we can say the number of flux line entering the surface must be equal to the number of flux lines leaving it. Then only it will be equal to zero. So the correct answer for this question is option B. So now I am just moving for the next question. So the next question here is about the electric dipole. So here it's given that the electric dipole is placed in an angle of 30 degree with an electric field intensity 2 times 10 to the power 5 Newton per coulomb, and it experienced a torque of 4 Newton meter as well. And the question here is about calculating the magnitude of charge on a dipole. So it's known that the torque can be calculated using a formula tau is equal P dot E times sine theta. So here P is representing the dipole moment, and it's known that the dipole can be written as Q times L as well. So here we can write the torque will be equal to Q times L times E times sine theta. So now we need a value of charge. When we are rearranging this equation in terms of Q, it will be written as tau divided by L times E times sine theta. So here tau is representing the torque. The value of torque here is given as 4 Newton meter, right? Now L here is representing the length. The length is given as 2 centimeter. So here we have to convert that to meter. When we are converting centimeter to meter, it will be equal to 0.02 meter, right? Whereas E here is representing the electric field intensity, or as we can say the value of electric field, which is given as 2 times 10 to the power 5 Newton per coulomb. whereas theta is representing the angle, which is given as 30 degree. Now we have all the values, we can apply the value in the formula. So Q will be equal to 4 divided by 0.02 times 2 times 10 to the power 5 times sine 30 degree. So when we are simplifying this, we will get the answer of 0.02 coulomb, which will be equal to 2 millicoulomb, right? So the magnitude of a charge on a dipole, which is producing a torque of 4 Newton meter, is 2 millicoulomb. So the correct answer for this question is option A. So now I'm moving for the next question. I'm giving just 5 minutes for you people. You can solve this and you can like post your answers in a group. Yeah, I am waiting for the message, or else I will solve this question for you people. So here it's given in the question, a spherical conductor of radius 10 centimeter has a charge of 3.2 times 10 to the power negative 7 coulomb. So on the question here is what is the magnitude of an electric field at a point 15 centimeter from the center of a sphere. So here the question is about calculating the electric field, right? So here the point is outside of the conductor, right? Because it's given that the radius of a spherical conductor is 10 centimeter. But we are going to calculate the electric field at a point of 15 centimeter. So we are calculating the electric field which is outside of the conductor. So here we can treat the entire charge Q as if it is a concentrated at the if it is concentrated like center of the sphere. So the electric field at a distance d from a charge q can be written as E is equal 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times q divided by r square, right? So the value of q here is representing the charge. The value of charge is given as 3.2 times 10 to the power negative 7, whereas r is representing the distance, which is given as 15 centimeter, or else we can write which will be equal to 0.15 meter, right? Now we can apply all the values. The electric field will be equal to 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times 3.2 times 10 to the power negative 7 divided by 0.15 whole power 2. So now it's known that the value of 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught will be equal to 9 times 10 to the power 9, because the Coulomb's constant will always equal to 9 times 10 to the power 9. So we can keep the remaining terms 3.2 times 10 to the power negative 7 divided by 0.15 whole power 2. So when we are simplifying this, we will get the value of 1.28 times 10 to the power 5 Newton per coulomb. So this is the value of electric field at a point which was 15 centimeter from the center of a sphere. So here we can say the correct answer will be option D. So keep it in a mind whenever they are telling that the point which is out of the conductor, you have to keep it in a mind the whole charge. You have to like assume that the whole charge is concentrated at the center of the sphere. The next question is about calculating the total capacitance of a given circuit. So here we have three capacitor. Two capacitors are connected in the parallel connection and one is connected in the series. So here I'm just going to take this capacitor as C1, C2 and this as C3. So here we have capacitor C1, C2 in a parallel connection, right? And C3 is in the series connection. So it's known that whenever the capacitors are connected in a parallel connection, the total capacitance will be equal to C1 plus C2. So here we can write 3 plus 3, which will be equal to 6 microfarad. Now we calculated the total capacitance which is connected in the parallel connection. So now we can draw the diagram as here we have a point A which is our capacitor 3. Now we calculated the total capacitance which was connected as 6 microfarad, right? So this is our 3 microfarad. So now we can calculate the capacitance of C3 and the parallel capacitor. So which was connected in series, right? So whenever the capacitors are connected in a series, the total capacitance can be written as 1 over C total is equal 1 over C1 plus 1 over C2. So now we can apply the value 1 over 3 plus 1 over 6. This is 1 over CT. Keep it in mind. We are calculating the total capacitance, but here we are having only the reciprocal of it. So here we can solve it first. 6 plus 3 divided by 18, so this is 1 over CT, right? So which will be equal to 9 over 18, or else we can say 1 over 2. So this is 1 over CT. So if we are calculating the total capacitance, it will be equal to 2 microfarad. So this is the equivalent capacitance value of a given circuit. And the correct answer here will be option B. Okay. Now we are moving for the next question. So now the next question is about calculating the magnitude of an electric field in a given region. Here it's given that in a certain region of a space with a volume of zero point 0.2 meter cube, the electric potential is given as 5 volt. So it's known that, so here in this problem, we are given that the electric potential throughout a certain region of a space is constant, which is given as 5 volt as well. So now we can solve this question by using a electric field formula which is related with the electric potential, which is nothing but E is equal negative dV divided by dx. So here V is representing the electric potential, X is representing the distance. So if the electric potential is constant throughout the region of a space, then its rate of change of then its rate of change value will also be equal to 0, right? Or else in terms of derivation, we can say if the value of V is constant, when we are differentiating, it will become 0, right? So the electric field will be 0. So we can say the potential does not vary in a given volume and the electric field will be equal to 0 Newton per coulomb. So the correct answer here will be option C. This is a very simple and easy question. You have to just know like when there is a electric potential is constant throughout the region, that time the electric field will be 0, right? Okay, now I'm moving for the next question. So let us solve this question. I'm just keeping this question for 5 minutes. You people can solve and you can tell me your answer in 2 minutes. I'm waiting for just 2 minutes. Yeah, you people can send a message. Like you people can send your answers in the chat box. So let me solve this question for. So let me solve this question. So here the value of electric potential is given in the question, and we have to calculate the value of electric field for an point 1, 1 and 0, right? So it's known that the electric field is related to the potential in terms of gradient can be written as E is equal negative del V, right? So the gradient in the Cartesian coordinate can be written as in terms of x, y, z, right? So here we can write E is equal minus dou V divided by dou x times dou V divided by dou y times dou V divided by dou z. Or else we can write in terms of Cartesian coordinate as I, J and K quadrant, right? So now we are going to calculate the each term here. Dou V divided by dou X, dou V divided by dou Y, dou V divided by dou Z. So here dou V divided by dou X is just representing the change of the electric potential with respect to the X, right? So here the potential value is given as 6xy minus y plus 2yz. So now we are going to derive this partial differentiation with respect to x. So here in the second and third term we don't have a ex, so it will become 0, and when we are differentiating the first term we have only the x, so which will be equal to 6y after deriving, right? Similarly, dou v divided by dou y will be equal to dou divided by dou y times 6xy minus y plus 2yz. So here we have y in all the terms. So when we are deriving the first term, it will be equal to 6x minus 1 plus 2z. And when we are doing the similar thing for z, dou v divided by dou z will be equal to dou divided by dou z times 6xy minus y plus 2yz, right? When we are simplifying this, in the first two terms we don't have a z, so the third term we have z. So when we are deriving that, it will be equal to 2y, right? So now we got the corresponding coordinates for the each derived term. So here we have a points 1, 1, 0, which means the value of x is 1, y is 1, and z is 0. So when we are applying the values here, it will be 6 times 1, 6. And here when we are applying 6, 1 minus 1 plus 2 times 0, which will be equal to 5, right? And similarly, when we are writing, it will be 2 times 1, which will be 2. So now we get the each term. So we can write the electric field will be equal to negative 6i plus 5j plus 2k. So this is the value of electric field in terms of vector form. So here when we are checking the option C here is representing the correct answer. So let us move for the next question now. Calculate the potential of a bigger drop. It's given in the question. 27 drops of same size are charged at 220 volt each, and they are combining to form a bigger drop. Here we are going to calculate the potential of that form bigger drop only. It's known that the potential of a spherical drop can be calculated using a formula V is equal KQ divided by R. So K is representing the Coulomb's constant, which is always equal to 9 times 10 to the power 9, 10 to the power 9, right? And Q here is representing the charge, R is representing the radius. So here a charge and a bigger drop is role is playing a main role, right? So when a 27 smaller drop combine, the charge and a bigger drop is the sum of the charges of all the small drop. Since the charge Q is proportional to the volume of the drop, and the volume of a drop is proportional to the cube of radius, because it's known that the shape of a drop will be spherical, right? So we can write like V is equal 4 over 3 pi r cube, and here we can say the value of volume will be directly proportional to r power 3. So the total charge of a bigger drop is 27 times the charge of one smaller drop, right? So here we have the radius as well. So the volume of a bigger drop is the sum of a volume of 27 smaller drop. Since volume is proportional to the cube of radius, the radius of a bigger drop will 3 times the radius of a one smaller. So we can say 27 power 1 over 3, right, will be equal to 3 here. So that's what we are telling here, because we are just calculating for 27 drops, right? We are just showing the value of radius here. Now, in case of the potential, so in case of big drop potential, we can write it will be 27 times 1 over 3 of the V small, because in terms of radius, it will be 3 times, right? So that's why 1 over 3. So we can write 9 times the volume, the value of the potential, right? Small one. So here the potential of a small drop is given as 220. So the big one will be equal to 9 times 220, which will be equal to 1980 volt. So the value of potential of a bigger drop will be equal to 1980 volt, which is nothing but the option A here. So let us solve the next question. One more question which is related with a spherical conductor. So here two charged spherical conductors of radii R1 and R2 are connected by the wire. So here we can draw, there is two spherical conductor which is having a radius of R1 and R2, and they are connected by the wire which is given in the question, right? So the ratio of a surface charge density of a sphere is given as sigma 1 divided by sigma 2, and we have to calculate which will be equal to what value in terms of radius, right? So when two spherical charge conductor are connected by a connecting wire, they acquire a common potential value, or we can say the value of potential at the spherical conductor 1 will be equal to 2. So it's known that the value of potential can be calculated using a formula 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times Q divided by R. So here I'm just making 1 to represent the first conductor and the 2 for second conductor. So similarly we can write 1 divided by 4 pi epsilon naught times Q2 divided by R. So here, when we are simplifying this, we will get the value of Q1 divided, sorry, Q1 divided by R1 is equal Q2 divided by R2, right? So when we are simplifying this in terms of, so, but here we need only the expression which is having the value of radius, right? For that, we are just going to make some arrangements here. So here I'm just going to multiply this term with R1 and divide by R1. Similarly, R2 divided by R2 in this side. So I'm just keeping the constant same 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught on both sides. So here I'm just cancelling the 4 pi epsilon naught. So the remaining terms will be Q1 R1 divided by 4 pi R1 square is equal Q2 R2 divided by 4 pi R2 power 2. 4 pi R square is representing the area of a sphere, right? So here we can write Q1 R1 divided by A1 will be equal to Q2 R2 divided by A2. So here again we have the Q1 and A1. It's known that the value of surface charge density is equal Q divided by A. So here we can write Q1 divided by A1 as sigma 1 times R1 is equal sigma 2 times R2. So now we need only the value of sigma 1 over 2, right? So when we are rearranging, we will get R2 divided by R1. So the value of, so the ratio of surface charge density of a sphere in terms of radius will be equal to R2 divided by R1. So the correct answer here will be option C. Okay. Now we are moving for the next question, which is related with a parallel plate capacitor. See. So here it's given in the question, a parallel plate capacitor has a uniform electric field and the distance between a plate is given as d and the area is represented as A. So now the question is, what is the value of energy stored in the capacitor? It's known that the energy stored in the capacitor can be calculated using a formula half CV square, right? So C here is representing the capacitor. So here we are talking about the parallel plate capacitor. It's known that the capacitance of a parallel plate can be calculated using a formula epsilon naught A divided by D, right? And here V is representing the value of potential difference. The potential difference is always equal to E times T, right? Now we can apply all the values. So the energy stored will be equal to half times epsilon naught times A divided by D times E times D whole power 2. When we are simplifying this, it will be equal to 1 over 2 times epsilon naught A times E square times D. So this is the value of energy stored in the parallel plate capacitor, which is given here, right? So the correct answer will be option D here. Let us solve one more questions. One more question. So the question is, calculate the electric potential at a point P due, due to the dipole. So here we have a two charges, negative Q and positive Q, which was displaced of 6 centimeter. And the point P, which is 5 centimeter away from the center between two charges given in the question. So here we are going to calculate the electric potential, right? So here we will have two electric potential because of the charge positive Q and negative Q. So we can write the net electric potential will be equal to electric potential because of the charge plus Q and electric potential because of negative Q. So here we can write the formula of the electric potential, which is nothing but kq divided by r, right? So this is the general formula, kq divided by r. So in terms of positive q, the distance will be 2 centimeter, because like from p to positive q, the distance is only 2 centimeter, right? So we can write k q divided by 2 times 10 to the power negative 2, plus for a negative q we can say the distance between point p and q is 8. So we can write k q, and here we have a negative charge, so negative q divided by 8 times 10 to the power negative 2. When we are simplifying this, we can write kq divided by 10 power negative 2 times 1 over 2 minus 1 over 8. When we are simplifying this, we will get the answer of 3 over 8 times kq. K cube, right? So this is the value of net electric potential at a point P. So the correct answer here will be option B. So this is how you have to answer for this question. So keep it in mind whenever whenever you people are calculating the answer for a electric potential, which is very away from the two charges, or else which is very away from the dipole, you have to make sure whether you applied the correct distance value, because if you apply the wrong values then it will become very hard to solve it. Okay, so I'm just moving for the next question. I'm just keeping 5 minutes for you people, just you can try to answer for this question. So the question is, determine the permittivity of a dielectric medium. It's known that the permittivity of a medium can be calculated using a formula mu is equal mu naught times K. So here mu naught is representing the value of permittivity of a free space, which is given as 8.85 times 10 to the power negative 12. Whereas K here is representing the value of dielectric constant, which is given as 5 in the question. So here we don't have a value of dielectric constant K. So first we have to calculate that dielectric constant. It's known that the dielectric constant can be calculated using a formula, capacitance when it was in a medium to the capacitance when it was in a air, right? So here the value of C medium is given as 30 microfarad, and the capacitance value in the air is given as 6 microfarad, right? When we are solving this, it will be equal to 5 microfarad, or else we can say it will be equal to only 5. Make sure that you didn't write the unit because it is a dielectric constant, it will not have a unit, right? So now we have a value of dielectric constant, so we can write the value of mu will be equal to 5 times 8.85 times 10 to the power negative 12. When we are simplifying this, we will get the value of dielectric constant, or else we can say the permittivity of a medium is equal 0.44 times 10 to the power negative 10 coulomb square, Newton power minus 1, meter power minus 2. So this is how you have to answer for this question. Just make sure that you know the formula of the dielectric constant, because they will not give the value of dielectric constant every time. So if you know the dielectric constant, then only you can calculate the value of permittivity. So now the next question is about the calculating the average force exerted on the surface. So here the value of electric flux and the area is given. So it's known that the value of electric flux in terms of a force can be represented as F is equal to IA divided by C. So here I is representing the value of energy, which is given as 25 times 10 to the power 4 Weber per meter square, because they gave the value of energy, right? So we can write the I here as 25 times 10 to the power 4, whereas A is representing the value of area, which is given as 15 centimeters square. So we can write the area will be equal to 0.0015 meters square. Now we have all the value. C here is representing the value of speed of light, which is equal 3 times 10 to the power 8 meter per second. It's known, right? So we can write F will be equal to 2 times 25 times 10 to the power 4 times 0.0015 divided by 3 times 10 to the power 8. When we are simplifying this, we will get the answer of 2.5 times 10 to the power negative 6 Newton. So this is the value of force exerted. So the correct answer here will be option B. So here this expression is very important, because we will not have this expression in our CBSE grade 12 CBSE textbook, right? So just you can like note it down, this expression, because it will be useful for you when you're going for an exam. Okay, I'm moving for the next question. I'm just keeping this question for you people. I'm just waiting for your answers. You can just you can just drop your message in the chat box. Like I can see like who is saying the correct answer. There is 8 minutes. Like you people can ask me if there is any questions, if you have any doubts. I'm just keeping the screen. You can note it down. After that, I will open my chat box. So it is 5:23 now. I will just open my screen until like 5:25. Then you can start asking your questions. கிளாஸ் இருக்குங்க, முடிக்கலாம் முடியாது, 5:30 வரைக்கும் இருக்கும் அது. பைத்தியம் யோசிச்சிருக்கேன் ஒரு 8. So yes, the correct answer for this question is option B, because it's known that for a conducting sphere of radius r carrying a charge q, the electric potential at any point outside or on the surface of a sphere can be calculated using a formula V is equal q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r, right? So this is the formula. So and then like when we are checking the electric field inside a conductor, the electric field is always zero, because the charge in the conductor rearrange themselves in a such a way as to cancel any internal electric field. This is the fundamental property of a conductor in an electrostatic equilibrium, right? So we can say the electric field will be equal to 0, and the value of electric potential is Q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught R in terms of formula. So the correct answer here is B. Very good. So I'm just like opening my chat box. You can keep your, you can ask your doubts in that session.